Thank you so much for joining us. This is Community Shield, a program brought to you by the Houston Police Department. And this Wednesday, just like every Wednesday, we broadcast this program and we bring you a lot of interesting things. Now today, we are live from the HPOU, the Houston Police Officers Union, because there is a preview that's being done of this amazing documentary prepared by our friends from the Afro Police Officers League. Yes, this is a project that's been thought about and that has been going on for a while, and it took a lot of preparation for it to happen. Now, the Afro-American Police Officers League, AAPOL, as more people know them as AAPOL, was founded in 1975 by Officer Alvin V. Young. He's a liaison between the department and the community that he served at that time. And of course, it was a lot of work for him to do that. And we're going to be fleshing that out later on in the program. And now, this documentary dives into so many things of the history of the Houston Police Department and its relationship with the African American community and how African American police officers got hired into the department and the challenges that they went through. So it really is something to watch. It's a treat for the eye, but it's food for the mind and for the soul. So I invite you to check it out whenever you get an opportunity, this documentary. Now, as we begin this event, we have already people arriving, and we have one of our guests that walked in this morning. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So who are you?
I am Marlene King Wagoner. I am the mother of Sergeant Jonathan Wagoner of East Side.
Okay.
And his wife is my daughter-in-law, and she's at Gessner, Patrol Officer Angel Wagoner.
Okay.
Plus Christopher Wagoner and Zachary Wagoner joined the force after they got out of college as well. And Angel's father retired when Angel and Jonathan graduated from the police academy.
So hold on. So you got person after person, family member after family member that has joined the police department, and so you are blue.
I'm blue. My cousin Mark Veal, Officer Mark Veal, recruited Jonathan.
Okay.
Yes.
How long ago was that?
Oh, it was about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that, when he got really interested. My son got really interested. But from 5 years old, he wanted to be a police officer.
I hear a lot of moms when they hear with HPD. So I hear a lot of moms when they hear, I want to be a police officer, they tend to discourage their kids from being police officers. Oh!
My brother is a fireman. He was a career fireman with the Houston Fire Department, and I groomed him to be a fireman. But at 5 years old, he says, Mom, I want to be a police officer with the Houston police officers. And I said, well, okay. So you have to respect what the children want. You know, it's his choice. I taught school, and he probably would have chosen another profession for me.
Okay.
But I support him 100%.
Now, what was that mom and son talk when he told you, I want to be a police officer? Tell me the truth. I know you weren't too happy with that.
No, I wasn't. I said, it's too dangerous. I want you to be a fireman like Uncle William. And he told me, Mom, I'm going to be a police officer. And he is, and he enjoys being in a position where he can help others.
Okay.
He's always been that type of person. Through college and during high school, he always wanted to help others.
Okay. Now, any times that your heart has stopped and you stop and prayed for him because of a situation?
Every day I pray not only for him but all the law enforcement, because I know firsthand from having dealt with so many other people, family members and others who have had those heartstrings. Their parents, their loved ones have had those heartstrings really torn apart by tragedies, but God is good. I believe in God, and I believe that the prayers for the whole, and when I go to church, we lift up the police officers, the law enforcement officers and first responders everywhere. And I might say that I am with Harris County Sheriff's Department. I'm in Citizens Police Academy. I've been
Hold
there
on a second.
15 years.
Oh, I'm going to say you were, because now you're part of our Citizens Academy now.
Well, no, I haven't, but Angel, my daughter-in-law has, Angel has certainly tried to get me involved.
Okay.
But I've been with D4 with Harris County Sheriff's Office,
Okay.
and so I'm serving on my end.
The light's a little brighter on this side, okay? So if you ever have a second thought, you want to join us over here, but hey, kudos to you for being involved.
Thank
okay?
you so much.
Now this documentary, how did you hear about it? What happened? Are you excited about it?
Oh, very excited. My daughter-in-law and my son too. I talk to my daughter-in-law more, if you could imagine, than I do my son.
Okay.
He's busy all the time.
Really?
But she keeps me informed on most of the things that go on with the department, and I'm here to support wherever.
I thought that boys were mama's boys, and the girls are daddy's. Girls.
Well, she's just like. She's a strong soul.
Okay.
She really is. She just kind of does stuff for everybody, the community, her family, and I don't know where she gets all that energy from, but she does stuff. But she was the one that told me about it.
We're back, Community Shield by the Houston Police Department. Today we are broadcasting from the HPOU. We have this great film that we're going to be showing, the documentary that our friends from AAPOL, they have worked so hard to prepare. Now we have the treasurer accompanying us here this morning. We have Tangela Nichols. She has some interesting stories to tell. She's been an officer for more than 30 years. Her father was also in law enforcement and has a very interesting perspective. And she's going to tell us these stories of how the Houston Police Department has evolved from the stories that her father shared with her till now, and how this movie and documentary represents those stories. How are you doing, Tangela?
I'm fine, and you? How are you doing?
I am just so excited. This film, I saw the film just a couple of weeks ago, and truly, I learned a whole lot about the history of the Houston Police Department from a completely different perspective. Tell us about some of the stories about your dad. Tell us who you are and where you work at, how long you've been on. Tell us about you.
Yes, there's a lot of rich history here at the Houston Police Department. My father was a sergeant with HPD for 40 years, Sergeant Ronald Mitchison, and he's been a member of AAPOL for all of those 40 years. And so I've grown up in AAPOL as a child. We would always go to the AAPOL picnics, which was a family event. I'd always hear him talk about A.V. Young, Chief Edwards, Chief Dotson. I've been knowing all of them since I was a little girl. And I've seen AAPOL evolve over time tremendously. Everything was divided at one while, with the Houston Police Department, but I think that now we all are, it's one, we all are on the same accord together. Mm-hmm. All of the officers are on the same accord. Mm-hmm. And I just think that this documentary kind of explains to officers who are just coming on, or even officers that have been here for a while, the things that minority officers have gone through at HPD to try and rise to the top.
Okay. In this, your father had many stories.
Yes, he
I'm
did.
sure not everything was great. I'm sure there was a lot of times he came in with a lot of heartaches.
Yeah.
Can you share with us some of the heartaches that he faced as a police officer and
Well,
the stories he shared with you?
just trying to get promoted, and the promotional system that they had in place at the time. But now, lots of things have changed, and officers of color are being promoted, and I just think it's a wonderful thing.
Talking about the promotions and how it changed, I know there's a lot of credit to be given to Precinct 7 Constable Mae Walker. When she was a Houston police officer, she saw that there was a need, and she did outreach. She saw a lawsuit that had been filed way before her time by Mr. Young, and she saw there were some gaps and some holes in there that could be defeated if she again revived this lawsuit. She went out and she got the help that she needed from colleagues in different police departments, and she brought that assistance down over here. And that lawsuit occurred, and so many doors were opened after she won that lawsuit, and so many people don't realize that the opportunities in the Houston Police Department just blew.
Yes, they did.
And opened up for everybody after that lawsuit.
Yes, they did. Mae Walker, I admire her tremendously. She did an excellent job while she was here at HPD. She fought for the rights for officers of color. She brought back the lawsuit. They ended up winning the lawsuit, and after that, minority officers and officers of color began to get promoted, and just had the fair shot and a good opportunity to rise to the top.
A lot of people remember Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
He's one of the pioneers. He's one of the trailblazers of the Houston Police Department. And when I hear people comment about him, they say he was a silent man, a quiet man. But in that silence, there was virtue, there was leadership. He was a person that didn't seek the attention or to be a leader in anything, but through that silence, through that humble service,
yes,
and never seeking attention, became the leader and inspired so many people later on in the future.
He did. Mr. Thomas, we all call him, he was magnificent. He was a very quiet, humble man. He stayed here for a very long time, and we all knew, the things that he went through during his career, but, he stuck it out and stayed in law enforcement and did a wonderful job when he was here at HPD, and we really admire him and appreciate everything that he did for the Houston Police Department.
Well, in the film, what's so remarkable about this film, this documentary, is that most people that are part of the trailblazers, we call them the trailblazers, are still alive. And we have a couple of them that are not with us anymore, but they're being memorized in this documentary. We have people that are still alive, that are contributors to this film, are HPOU, former President Ray Hunt.
Yes.
We also have Precinct 7 Constable Mae Walker. Another thing that was so amazing that I had a chance to learn from her is that she was the first female on the streets, on patrol. The first female, period.
Yes, she was.
So,
she was. Mae Walker was very tough.
Yes.
She was tough. She was tough, not just on the job, but tough in everything that she did, and she just did an excellent job.
And I feel like
she is admired.
I feel like a child watching this movie because I didn't know a lot of the information that was revealed to me. And again, I've seen Mrs. Walker. I didn't know anything about her, but now I've grown to admire the work that woman has done. She's done an amazing work that will stay with us forever. Now, we also have the presence of a former Assistant Chief Dorothy Edwards,
yes,
who also gave us some wisdom in that film, and talks about Mr. Thomas. Again, reveals something so profound about Mr. Thomas and how humbling it was. He came into her office as she was chief,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And tells Mr. Thomas, please take a seat. Can you share us about that?
Yes,
he told Mr. Thomas, sit in my seat, and he didn't want to.
Right, he didn't. Now, you have to realize Mr. Thomas is very humble, but Dorothy Edwards, Chief Edwards, she is very humble herself, very sweet. And when Mr. Thomas went to her office, because he's so honored, she says, no, Mr. Thomas, you sit in my seat. And she said he did not want to do it. And she said, I'm giving you a direct order. You're going to sit in my seat. And he did it, and it was a beautiful thing.
Yes, it's awesome. We tend to forget the people that walk, the walk before we did.
Yes.
And that was a beautiful piece that I got to see in that documentary. I hope you guys get to see it. We also have, I think it's Jesus Christ Hartman. No?
Hartman.
J.C. Hartman?
J.C. Hartman. J.C. Hartman.
I love how he says, it's not, my name is not Jesus Christ, it's J.C. Hartman.
J.C. Hartman.
Yeah, is first black sergeant in the Houston Police Department.
Yes.
Well, I'm guessing that was after all the lawsuits and everything that happened. He was the one that got first benefit.
He was sergeant prior to the lawsuit.
All right.
Yeah, he was prior to the lawsuit. I got to see him in the documentary also. he came in the era, that my father was here. I don't quite remember him from, a kid going to the picnics, but I've heard a lot about him. And he did a tremendous job as the supervisor here at HPD.
And he was also very popular. He chose this career after going and playing sports, baseball.
Right.
He was playing for the Kansas City Monarchs. He played for the Chicago Cubs, and then he decided to come down to Houston for the Colts.
Yes.
And then he said, I remember this. He said, I need to do something that has a bite.
Right.
Something that has meaning, right?
Right. And
as they were playing in the major leagues.
Wasn't enough.
Yeah,
and being an officer of color at that time, that was something.
Imagine, I mean, coming down from being in the major leagues, being adored by so many fans, and then coming into a realm where you knew there was still some hostility within the community, and
that was his bite coming on at that particular time. That was a bite for him. But he did it, and he did a great job.
Yeah, and it's amazing how God, forms us and makes us to be alive in a certain period of time, so that we can be effective and be part of whatever it is that He calls us to do. And it was change that needed to happen so much. Jimmy Dotson?
Yes, Chief Dotson. I've been knowing him also for a very long time.
He's also a co-founder of AAPOL?
Yes, he was with AV Young.
Good deal. He was the first black assistant chief.
Yes, he was.
So, and we also have Mitchell Ruffin.
Mitch Ruffin.
Ruffin.
Yes.
I had to put the W in between so I could say that. Ruffin?
Ruffin. Mitch Ruffin, yes.
Yes, he was also former president of AAPOL. And of course, Eric Fagan. Now he's the sheriff of Fort Bend.
Yes.
Very successful. And he has a lot of stories to tell and some contributions on this documentary. We have C.O. Bradford, also former chief of police.
Yes, I actually worked in Chief Bradford's office for about 4 years. He's an excellent chief.
Yes.
He brought about a lot of change.
And of course, we got the contribution of Mr. Eric Carr. A lot of us call him Detective Carr. Right?
Yes, Detective Carr.
Yes, and we also have DeAndre Hutchinson.
Yes.
And we also have Mrs. Bird, Jamie Bird, and of course Laura Lawrence. We have the contribution of the first black female TSU captain, Mrs. Melba Ozine.
Right. That's Laura's grandmother?
Yes.
Yes, it's Laura's grandmother,
That's
yes.
Right. And Sergeant Salazar, and of course our chief, Troy Finner, just telling us about how the Houston Police Department has changed. Now, in your eyes, does this film do justice to what the Houston Police Department
It does.
is doing?
It does a lot of justice. It explains a lot, I think, to the younger officers about how it used to be and how we've evolved over time. I've been here for 30 years and I've seen a lot of change.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the younger officers, they were already here when the change had already occurred, so they didn't actually get a chance to see the change. I've actually witnessed some of the change over my 30 years.
Now, some of the goals that the Houston Police Department has had for many years, but now we have to double down on these works, doing works of charity, helping people out, building bridges, relational policing.
Yes.
How important is that to our friends from AAPOL?
It's very important. It's very important. We're sitting right here in the HPOU building. So HPOU and AAPOL have formed a great bond over the last couple of years.
Yes, I remember that these alliances were not always there.
Right.
But it took the leadership of Mr. Ray Hunt. It took the leadership of the AAPOL that was there to bring these issues out and of course to sit in the table and share with the chiefs the decisions that were being made. AAPOL needed to have a place in that seat, in that bargaining place. And again, everything's been done step by step, little changes, little battles, little wins that ultimately brought huge wins.
Huge wins.
Thank you for joining us. You're watching Community Shield, the program brought to you by the Houston Police Department as we do this program live from the HPOU. Woo, woo, woo. We are doing a special program now that they are showcasing this documentary that our friends from the Afro-American Police Officers League has prepared. It has a lot of interesting facts, and today we are presenting this video to the community that wants to visit with us and share with us this movie. Now, Officer Hodge, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, good. I've been told by a little birdie out there that you joined this organization.
Yes, yes, I have.
Tell me a little bit. Why did you join this organization?
Well, I believe in what they stand for.
Okay.
They're a very good organization.
Okay.
They get out there, they make things happen, and I wanted to be part of it.
That's good. That's good. Now, how long have you been in the Houston Police Department?
14 years.
14 years. All right. And you represent what station?
Northeast.
Northeast. What do you do over there?
I'm in DRT community service.
Okay.
So we do both city code enforcement and a lot of community involvement.
Okay.
Our latest event was at Fall Festival, and our upcoming event is the Easter egg hunt.
The Easter egg hunt. Tell me a little bit about the Easter egg hunt.
Extravaganza.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's so extravagant about about the Easter eggs?
Well, the fun that we're gonna have is gonna be extravagant.
Okay.
Games, snacks, food for the community.
Okay.
Safe place for the kids to come and play.
So this is what we call like relational policing, community policing,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
How important is that to you to continue
Extremely
to fortify
important.
those relationships?
Extremely important. So positive community contact is our bread and butter. We've got to build those relationships with the community so they know who we are and we know who they are and we can relate to each other. And once you have that, you're breaking down tons of barriers. And it allows you to develop great ties with the community.
Great. I hear you're a master organizer.
I wouldn't say
You have all the
master
contacts
organizer.
in the world and everybody's your friend?
I would not say a master organizer, but I try my best.
And I hear you have great relationships with the community.
I try every
Yeah.
day. I
Yeah.
try to have great relationships with the community.
And we need that. We need that because when things are going wrong, when things are going bad, we depend on good relationships that our friends or officers here in the community services units in the different parts of the country, of the city, do for us. So, and that's how we get out of some horrible binds. We get the community to be with us and to walk with us as we walk with them and we journey with them. Building these relationships, building these bridges is something paramount to the department, and we have awesome officers like you that are always working the streets and are always making connections.
Yes.
Gracias.
De nada.
And any message you want to give out to the community today?
Easter egg hunt coming.
April what? April 8th?
April 8th.
There you go. See, she had to promote. See, that's how you know you have a good community service liaison in your station, when you use every opportunity to get the word out. April 8th, the extravaganza, the egg hunts.
Bring all the kids.
Bring all the kids. So where is this going to be at?
At our Northeast Police Station, 8301 Lay Road.
Lay Road, 8301 Lay Road.
Yeah.
Any phone number they should contact you there for any more information at the station?
They can
Or they can call Community Services and we'll give them the contact information at 713-308-3200, 713-308-3200, or
281-726-3599. 281-726-3599.
stick with us. This is Community Shield of the Houston Police Department. As we continue with Community Shield, the program brought to you by the Houston Police Department, we want to thank you for sharing the program, for being there with us today. We are covering this amazing documentary that has been prepared. It talks about the history of the Houston Police Department from the African American perspective, from their African American community, and the changes that the Houston Police Department has gone through. Now, AAPOL, a very diverse organization that has been growing and changing as time passes by. We have another member here. What is your name, sir?
Jose Salazar. I'm a 26-year member of the Houston Police Department, and truly blessed to see all the changes in 26 years, Jesse. My first cadet class was one where they tried to, because to represent what the community represents, the most diverse class. And 26 years later, you see this beautiful diversity here in the police department with so many diverse officers getting promoted now.
That's right. So your career has taken you from what division to what division?
Well, I started my career in South Central Patrol. I trained at Central, and then at South Central's Gang Task Force, and then from there I went to East Side Patrol, went to Auto Theft for a few years. From Auto Theft, I went to the Vice Division. From the Vice Division, I was blessed to promote. I went to Clear Lake, Juvenile, Northwest, was a field training sergeant in South Central. Then I went to downtown as a TAC sergeant, DRT sergeant, regular patrol sergeant. Now I'm blessed here at the Office of Community Affairs.
Good, good. So you've walked the walk, you've talked the talk, you've done so many things already in your career. This film, we were able to see you participate in this documentary. Why was it so important to be part of this documentary?
Well, it was so important because it's historic. You know, if you look at the history of the Edwards lawsuit, Chief Edwards was one of the trailblazers, and you know, that was the big push where we started seeing after the historic case of the Edwards lawsuit that some changes need to be done, and that's why now, like I said, 26 years later, you know, we're the most diverse city in America. Now we're the most diverse city police department. That's the way I consider it now. So we love everybody, and the main thing is it doesn't matter who we are. We all got to love each other as a big family. So that's the beauty of it. That you know, Ray Hunt, the union, everyone's embraced this new philosophy of love and having a big diverse police department.
That's right. Now, again, this film is already online. It's available for you to see. You can find it on YouTube. And then there's different places that AAPOL is taking this film so they can showcase it. And the experience you get from that is obviously you get to meet some of the people that were in the film. You get to ask them questions. You get to just meet them, which is the most important part, meeting the people that are actually part of this film. Sergeant Salazar, any other message that you would like to relay and let the community know?
Well, the most important thing is that we, the Houston Police Department, we love the community, and like I said in the documentary, if we love the community is going to love the police department. So it starts with the police officers loving each other, so we can love the community, and then the community is going to trust us and love us back. So try to keep it simple.
There you go. Keep it simple. All right. Thank you so much, Sargento, future lieutenant now in a couple of weeks. Salazar, Lieutenant Salazar with the Houston Police Department. We really appreciate
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much. And like I said, love everyone. Thank you.
There you go. Community Shield of the Houston Police Department. We'll be right back with more. As we continue with Community Shield, a program brought to you by the Houston Police Department, we are doing this program from the HPOU, and we are getting to meet some very interesting people that are participating in this film that AAPOL prepared to tell us about the history of how the Houston Police Department changed. Now, we have the president himself right here with us right now, and he can tell us exactly why this film was made. First, we want to get to know a little bit about him. How are you doing, Sargento Love?
Yeah.
Sargento Amor?
Nice to meet you, sir. Good time. It's 11:45, so good morning to you.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Say, like you mentioned, my name is Brandon Love. I am a police sergeant with the Houston Police Department. I'm also the president for the African American Police Officers League. I've been on the police department for almost 10 years now, and I'm currently assigned to Southwest Patrol.
Okay, good. Tell us why this film, why now, why is it so important that we do this today?
Sure. I mean, I think this film is very important, especially right now in this particular month, it being Black History Month, to showcase Black excellence, to showcase how much the Black community has transcended over the years from where it was from when Mr. Thomas first started to where it is now. So I think it's important to highlight those achievements and those successful accomplishments over the years.
I like the word you guys use, and it's rightfully used, trailblazers.
Yes, sir.
You guys have trailblazers in this film, and,
Yes,
and most of these trailblazers that you guys are highlighting, they're alive.
Yes, sir.
We have lost some of them already, like Mr. Thomas,
Yes, sir.
Who served for more than 60 years.
60 years, yes, sir.
He still holds the longest serving police officer of the Houston Police Department, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Again, a person that had seen so many changes. Did you get a chance to meet him yourself?
I met him once early in my career.
Okay.
You know, and he actually lived in the area that I patrolled, which was South Central.
Okay.
So he lived in the 3rd Ward area. So I actually had the opportunity to meet him and just had a brief conversation with him and just thanked him for being that trailblazer and really kind of setting the stage for people like myself to join the police department years ago.
Something that resonates a lot is how a quiet person, he was a quiet leader. and he didn't need to do anything or say much to just walk with reverence or even wisdom.
Right.
His fellow co-workers respected him in a very special way. Again, because he was somebody that understood what was going on at the time. He was a man that was living his time, but he knew that there was something else. There was a journey he had to go through. It was a marathon that he had to run. It wasn't something that he was just going to take a sprint and voila, things were going to change for him. But he stood the course. A quiet leader. Tell me about this quiet leader. There's this man that was
I think that's very profound of him. Like the Bible says, you know, we have two ears and one mouth, right? So he was quick to listen, so to speak. And I think that, you know, I think that spoke volumes, especially during those times. You know, you had to have an attentive ear in regards to be able to be successful during those, you know, those turbulent times back in the 50s and the 60s, and you know, and so on and so forth. So I think that, unbeknownst to him, that he was really setting up, you know, future successes like the Dorothy Edwards and the Mae Walkers and the Chief Braffords and the Chief McCullens, Chief Fenner currently. All of these different individuals who are now hold high-ranking positions in the police department are all stemming from what Mr. Thomas endured during all those years ago.
Turbulent times that when he was a patrol officer?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe so. Especially here in the South.
He had to give up his vehicle every time that a white officer, his vehicle broke down. He had to do it. And there was no fights. There was nothing. He didn't offer any argument. He just said, "Here it is." Back in the day, to make an arrest, African American police officer to make an arrest of a white man, what was the process of something like that?
I mean, I can only imagine. Of course, I wasn't alive during those times, but from the stories that I hear, it took a great resolve, some great strength and determination to know that I have the power to take someone's freedom from them if they did wrong, but I also had to get permission to utilize my power, you know, back in the day, right? And that, for anybody, I can only imagine how hard that was for a police officer back in the day.
We have a term that we call walking the beat. Mr. Thomas actually had to walk the beat because most of the times he did not have a vehicle. He would ride the bus to be dropped off at whatever patrol area he was going to be patrolling.
Yeah, I think that in hindsight, I believe that walking the beat is really important to that term community relational policing, because walking the beat back in the day allows you to have those interactions with the community that you serve, you know, and have those face-to-face, those one-on-one conversations that are needed in order to help, you know, resolve an issue or a particular problem in that particular area.
I hear stories that he was, when he was patrolling Freedmanstown, and he was trying to lay hands on somebody that was causing a disturbance or breaking the law in some sort of way, that it was a couple of guys that were breaking the law, and he was trying to detain them all. And once he tried to put hands on them, of course, it was a one man trying to do this job. The community came out, and they knew Mr. Thomas. They knew, don't mess with Mr. Thomas. He's our police officer here. And they went outside, and they all placed hands on these suspects and arrested them, detained them while Mr. Thomas was trying to get, you know, just do the formal arrest.
Right. And that's one of the things that here in AAPOL, one of our core values is unity. Right, and having that unity within the community and having that trust from your community stakeholders and people that live in the area that you serve is important. And I believe that he showcased that, you know, second to none back in those days.
Now, back in the day, they were calling those officers that were trying to move up the ranks troublemakers. They were trying to take that test, and because they were doing so well, they were not going to allow him to promote, and they fought for it. They fought for the right to be ascended to the next position. Troublemakers. Sometimes it takes a troublemaker to make a change.
Right, you know, and believe it or not, those quote-unquote troublemakers who wasn't afraid to step up and speak out, you know, with the Dorothy Edwards lawsuit that, you know, allow a lot of people who took the promotional exam to promote. But because of those, in quote, open quote, troublemakers, I think I wouldn't be here today.
That's right.
You know, and so I truly appreciate the sacrifices that they made, the backlash that they received, and in order for young, motivated, inspired officers like myself to join the police department and try to help ascend to the next level.
Now, the creation of an organization was being born by the trailblazers of like Mr. Alvin Young and the people that were with him. What finally called them to do this?
When they joined the police department, all those many years ago, because the organization was founded back in 1975.
Yeah.
Right, and on the documentary, we have our first black African-American sergeant, Sergeant Hartman, who didn't get promoted until 1978. Right, and so we still had a long ways to go, even from Mr. Thomas endured and what he achieved during his lifetime, but we were still not in a position of leadership. So the organization was founded with A.V. Young and also Assistant Chief Jimmy Dotson, and those individuals who helped form this organization to be that representation, to help encourage and motivate officers that look like them during that time and speak out and be a voice for them.
Now, for those that are watching, creating an organization is not just something you just create and all of a sudden everybody flocks to you and you just get membership and stuff. As police officers, we tend to be very skeptical of anything that we see. So we ask too many questions, we ask so much, we were very critical about these things. Recruiting was not easy. It was not easy. You guys didn't have the representation or didn't have the bargaining power or the respect.
Right.
And you guys had to fight for every single person that came into your organization.
Correct. Yeah. So, like you said, to get people to buy in, right, on the mission and the vision of AAPOL was extremely difficult back then. And I will say this, that our membership has grown over the years, and we're more diverse than ever. And our membership has ascended to over 700 members within AAPOL. And we have an associate membership outside of HPD, Precinct 5, Precinct 7, Metro, Harris County. So we're spreading the word out to, and people want to become more involved in our organization because they believe in the mission that AAPOL stands by. And
to close, for the people, the civilians, the people that are watching the program right now, how does AAPOL play an intricate part in everybody's lives in the city of Houston?
Sure.
Your participation, your involvement in relational policing and community events.
Right. Yeah. We're not only are we a strong advocate for our officers and our members on the police department, we have a strong investment and concern for the community that we serve, and we're always willing to bridge the gap in with the police and the community. So we have several different initiatives. We have a scholarship, a gala that we have every year to help promote education for our community leaders and their children to go on to college. So we are definitely very involved and entrenched in the communities, and always looking for partnerships. And if you can always reach us at AAPOL.org, AAPOL.org. Look at our website, and you can always reach out to one of us to afford any type of potential opportunities with us.
We've spoken about the past, the present, the future of the Houston Police Department in conjunction with AAPOL. Tell us, what does the future look like?
I think the future looks bright. We're definitely strengthening our relationship, especially with HPOU, Houston Police Officers Union. The relationship between HPOU and AAPOL is stronger than ever with the leadership of Doug Griffith and Ray Hunt and myself and my team. I think that the future is bright. I think that we're going to continue to ascend and become more of a global organization than just a city organization.
Tell the community, any African Americans that are watching right now, why is it so important that they need to jump into the Houston Police Department?
I think that's very important. We're always looking for qualified members to join our fine agency, and definitely utilize us as a resource and as a vehicle to help that process as smooth as possible.
All right, there it is. Thank you so much. That's Sargento Love, Sargento del Amor, Sergeant Love, President of AAPOL.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We have former president of the HPOU, Mr. Hunt, here with us, and he's very intricate. He's a piece, a very important piece in the changes that we have seen with AAPOL, with HPOU, and some of the things that have happened in the Houston Police Department. How are you doing, sir?
Great to be here.
Always sitting in the hot seat, right? Always witnessing so many things. Now, today, tell us about the significance of this film.
Well, I was very proud to be a part of this video that basically shows some progress that we've made over the years between the Afro-American Police Officers League and the Houston Police Officers Union. I don't take responsibility for bringing this together because I'm just one small piece of how this all happened. But the relationship between the HPOU and AAPOL has definitely improved over the years to a part that they're showing this film here today, which I think shows just how close the HPOU and AAPOL work together, and looking forward to do more things like this with AAPOL.
That's right. Now, in the 1700s, policing began in America, but of course its purpose was not beneficial to everybody equally. It maintained control of a type of property called the slaves. Slave patrols were created back in the day. Now, what were the duties of officers back in the day, back in those times?
Well, clearly the duties have changed. We've become a neighborhood-oriented policing now, where we actually are engaged with the community and not simply enforcing the laws on persons that maybe didn't have the same rights as other people did.
Yeah, so it's been a huge change now with the history of the Civil War, Civil Rights movements, Dr. Martin Luther King, Reverend Yak Yates, Rosa Parks, countless trailblazers. Many things began to change. The persecuted became the police. Imagine Mr. Thomas. You knew Mr. Thomas. Mr.
Thomas was a great man. He's actually depicted quite a bit in the video. Talks about his final days here at the Houston Police Department and some of the things that he shared with us and the struggles that he had to go through to be a police officer. But clearly today in 2022, we have a complete different role of police officers, and our police department looks a lot different than it did back in the 1700s. Very diverse now. Proud to say the Houston Police Department is a predominantly minority police department now, and that's with the work of our recruiting division, with the work of the HPOU in allowing the department to put whomever they want in the academy. We've come a long way, and I think it's important that our police department reflects what our community looks like, and that's the case here at the Houston Police Department.
Amen. Now, a quiet leader, Mr. Thomas, was somebody that was serving in a very turbulent time. What is there's a piece to being quiet in moments of turbulence. What's your perspective on that?
You know, he quietly advanced his police department. He quietly advanced blacks in the police department. And when he left here, there's a reason why every single police officer who's on that wall, who's alive, that was a president of the Houston Police Officers Union, supported naming the headquarters after Mr. Thomas, because we know exactly what a trailblazer he was and the things that he did, not only for the department, but also for the community. He brought this department into the 21st century.
And how good do you feel to be part of this change?
I'm ecstatic to be part of it.
That's right. That's Mr. Ray Hunt here of the HPOU. Again, always in the middle of everything that has anything to do with changes, anything has to do with affecting people's lives in a very positive way. I'm very proud to say that he is my friend, and that he's always here answering the call. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Sir. It's definitely been a journey as we have watched this film, this documentary that AAPOL has prepared for all of us to watch and to really just learn about the history of the Houston Police Department and how it's changed. You know, there is always change catalyzers. Things happen, and then we have people that are standing there to make this change happen. And one of those people that was also part of the change was Officer Hicks. Officer Hicks, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? What do you do and where you at now?
Presently, I work for Precinct 1. I joined HPD in October 15th of '84, not knowing what to expect, only knowing that I wanted to be a police officer ever since I was a little bitty kid, and I was blessed to become a police officer. And I'm just blessed to have great people behind me. AAPOL stood out. When I first came on, you could either join AAPOL, HPOU, no, HPOA, no, HPPU.
Yeah, we changed the name.
Yes, but I joined HPOA, but I also joined AAPOL. And AAPOL was helping young black officers in the beginning. And just it made, I don't know, it was 10 or 15 of us. But in the beginning, they told us to come down. So we came down to the jail because they had people in all different divisions, and they taught us things. So when we got on training, we'd already know. And it was a lady by the name of Officer McClellan. She filled out every complaint that she knew you were going to need on training. So she filled it out, made copies and gave it to us. And wow, when doing training, all I had to do is go in my change the name, location, and I knew what needed to be done. And that was a big impact to me for the help that I got as a young rookie officer.
That is great. Now, we just finished watching this documentary. Do you think it does justice to the history of the Houston Police Department and the changes that we've seen?
I think it does justice because I worked under Mae Walker. She was awesome. She was a teacher to the young black officers. I was an officer under Chief McClellan, and he taught you things. I was vice president of AAPOL. I was fortunate to be vice president, and one of my jobs was to pick up Mr. Young, and he would tell me about what it was like to be a young black officer. I can't imagine walking the streets at night, being dropped off a bus and told the police. It's just amazing. You don't want to police by yourself in a patrol car by yourself. But these gentlemen were walking the streets. I got to meet a lot of them old timers.
Yes.
I got to meet Chief Edwards was my chief. She was my lieutenant at one time. So and I got to meet Mr. Thomas. But as it was going on, I did see we needed a change as I was a vice president. AAPOL and the union was separate. But like I said, I was fortunate enough to be on AAPOL. But then I was fortunate enough that one day I was approached to join the union as a board member, and I toyed with that. Oh, it was a big, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? But I knew, and I went and talked to a couple of people who were on the board, and I talked to some other people, and I said, well, I want to continue to be vice president. I said, but I can help people if I'm on the union, because the union reached everybody.
You had to step into that unknown.
Yes, I had to step into that.
Journey, yeah.
And it was like, wow. And a friend of mine by the name of Fred Pyland told me, hey, there's an opening, you need to go. So he introduced me to Ray. And Ray said, if you come over here, you're going to have to give up being vice president of AAPOL. I thought, well, I'm helping people over here at AAPOL because I was a spokesperson. Chief Fenner at that time was a lieutenant. He would tell me certain things he needed me to do. Other officers would come to me on AAPOL, but the greatest impact I could help people was at the union. So I made that decision to come over to the union, which was great because I was able to help everybody, whether you were white, black, but we needed some black representation on the union board.
Yes.
And I was able to do that, but I was also still able to help people at AAPOL. And
it was a risky situation.
Yeah,
there,
it was.
You also risked people not trusting you in AAPOL or thinking that you were just turning your back.
Right, and I did. I had some guys who said, since I went on to the union, they said I was kissing white people's behind. And it was very hurtful to me. But I had to look at how I could help people. And it wasn't about me because no one was bothering me. I've always wanted to help people. But the union helped me help other people. So I never forget when we wanted a change in AAPOL, so we went and talked to Eric, and he was kind of hesitant. We kind of twisted his arm, and he agreed to do it. And then Ray, because they met it, Ray says, if Eric Bacon becomes the president, he said there's going to be a spot at the union board, at the table, at Borgen, and we rallied together. We had secret meetings, getting him, telling people we wanted him to be voted on. So once we got Eric in place, which was earthquake. I mean, it was awesome. Because when Eric got over there, the union and AAPOL became one. And that's what we needed. We needed to stop thinking white this, black that. We needed to think together. And I believe that the union and the AAPOL was a good bond. It was a good bond. You know, a lot of people were dual members, but they were just members.
Yes.
But I think when they got together, they became family.
Yes.
Because I was a dual member for years.
Yes.
But if I had a problem, I would only go to the union, because of the legal was at union, not at AAPOL. But I was looking at the video, which I was really proud. I seen other people other than a black person joining AAPOL. It was a vice president by the name of Robles. He was promoting dual members of color back in the day. I said, Norris, I thought AAPOL was just supposed to be for black people. He said, Gary, you got to get out of that way of thinking. He said, you got to get out of that way. He says, we need to bond, we need to get together, we need to be strong.
Yes.
And when he told me that, the light came on. And seeing that video, the light is still on. The light is still on.
What did you like the most about that video, the documentary right now?
I seen positive people. I seen the young officers picking up the torch, and they still running with it. I just seen one of the board members. He went to school with my son, and that was Corey, and that was just, he was in college, and to see that not only did he go from college to become an HPD officer, to become a sergeant, a lieutenant, but he's on the board.
Wow.
And if you're on the board, you're
Yeah.
helping people.
Yeah.
Like I said, we don't get paid for this. He's not getting paid for that. The president's not getting paid for this. We got to stick together to help. And I was only successful as a police officer because the community was behind me.
Amen.
The community was behind me.
What a powerful way to end this broadcast. Do you have a word for the teens, for those that are growing up and thinking about being police officers?
I really, the word, just, if you have honor in yourself and want to commit to helping others, because I'm only good because of the people who helped me, and they taught me to be, my parents helped me, they taught me to be good. You gotta want to help people. If you treat people like you want to be treated, if you treat people like you want to be treated, then you should do great. And I'm not trying to be biblical, but you know, my pastor one day was preaching, and he said, he talked from Proverbs 13:20, the wise hang with the wise and the wicked to be destroyed. And that tells me, if the wise people would just get together, we can all be wise. We can all help one another, and let that wicked just go away.
Amen.
If we just have faith in the Lord, which I have. He's guided me through this, and people such as yourself and everybody have been lights for me.
Amen.
So,
you know, in the dark tunnel at the end, there is light.
There is light.
And this is the message that we're trying to convey. We invite you, if you have not seen this documentary, it is online, it is on YouTube. You can find it very, very easily by putting on there on YouTube, History of the Afro-American Police Officers League. Check it out. You're gonna learn a whole lot of stuff. When I saw this documentary, I was blown away. I've seen a lot of the faces out here, but I didn't know much about their history. And this film is just made it happen for me.
You know, and another thing, just because you retire doesn't mean that you retire. You still need to give. Because we are supposed to mentor and teach our young, because they're going to be the ones to help us.
Yes.
And if they see that we're willing to help,
Yes.
then they're willing to help. And then they got to pass it on and pass it on. But you have to, and I love being an HPD officer. That was the greatest job, the greatest blessing, one of the greatest blessings of being a family man.
Amen.
You can't put your family behind. What I did was kind of brought my end to it.
Yes.
But this has been the greatest job in helping. As a police officer, I became other people's parent.
Ah, yes.
I don't know how many people call me father or daddy because I've mentored them, I've talked to them, I've held people's hands when they were dying. You know, I got to see a bunch of new kids, and now they're police officers.
So there it is. You want to be a Houston police officer. Get ready for this roller coaster. One thing that has never changed in the Houston Police Department is that we are here to serve. And we're here to serve you. You want to join us? Thank you so much for watching another program of Community Shield, a program brought to you by the Houston Police Department. Please share. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.